Please start, Deepak.
Good morning, everyone. So today the topic which is assigned to me is on GST exemptions to charitable institutions. So we will be discussing what are the various exemptions, and in terms of a case study, we'll understand the various activities done by in this case study and see what are the activities which is taxable, and whether it's actually taxable or is it still exempted. So we will do the analysis on that aspect. To start off, I would say that all activities or all supplies which are made by a non-profit organizations are not exempt, because the exemption per se, which is given under the exemption notification, is restricted, limited to the definition given there, and any activity done which is not under this exemption notification will be taxable. Why I am saying so is primarily we'll have to understand whether the activities by a 12AA entity or a non-profit organization, does it tantamount to supply first of all. For supply, we'll have to go through the various limbs of supply to see firstly whether this transaction is qualifying under the definition of supply. So we'll have to see various aspects of supply. In that, the first aspect is it a business? Now, section 2, subsection 17 defines business to say that any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, and other limbs, or any similar activities, whether or not it is for a pecuniary benefit. So without a pecuniary benefit also, if any activity is carried out, it is business. So the activity of a charitable institution is falling under the definition of business. Whether there is a consideration, in some instances there can be consideration, in some instances not. So if some charitable activity is carried on for no consideration, then it is not a supply. But if it is for a consideration, then it is a supply. So all activities of charitable institution per se will fall under the definition of supply. Then why, how can they not pay GST? They will not pay GST on such activities because of the exemption specifically given under this notification number 12 of 2017. Primarily serial number 1, which is specifically for the charitable activities. Now, there are many activities. So firstly, here we would conclude that supply per se, primarily it is supply, but because of this notification, they get exemption. Now, if you go into the exemption notification, charitable activities has been specifically dealt out, saying that what is a charitable activity, and it should be a institution which is registered under 12AA or 12AB of the Income Tax Act, and specific charitable activities given only will be exempted. Now, apart from charitable activities, there are other services which a institution does, which will not be exempted under serial number 1, but other provisions, other entries which are there in this notification. For instance, education services. Charitable activity does not cover educational services, but for educational services, there is a separate entry under serial number 66, which says that educational institutions provide educational activities provided preschool or at a secondary school level or any other college level where you get a certificate recognized by law is a educational service. So apart from serial number 1, like education services, healthcare services, there are other exemptions which are provided in those respective serial numbers. We will have to see whether the activities fall under those entries to actually give the exemption to the organization. And specifically on importation of services for a charitable organization is exempted by notification number 9 of 2017. Moving further, public libraries by way of lending books or other publications or knowledge enhancing material is exempted under serial number 50. So the crux, what I'm trying to say here is these activities primary may look like charitable activities, but they are not. So the exemption should be claimed under those respective entries and not under the charitable activities head. Renting services also, renting of residential dwelling is exempted. So if a charitable institution is providing renting of residential dwelling, then that will also be exempted. Now, most of these charitable organizations have a specific religious place, and within this presence of this religious place, if they rent out, then it is exempted subject to the limits what they've given. So for renting of a room, the limit is 999 rupees. If it is a shop or a mantap, then it is 9,999. Anything, any amount charged beyond this will be fully taxable. And they've specifically said renting of presence of a religious place. So any renting activity carried out at a distant place will not be presence of a religious place. So that will be taxable irrespective of the amount. And then training and coaching in recreational activities in sports, arts and cultures is amended. So any training or coaching in recreational activities of sports is exempted. Participation in events where the entry fees is up to 500 rupees is exempted. Beyond that will be fully taxable. And one another important exemption is it's not mentioned in the exemption notification, which is donation. Now, donation per se, is it exempted or no? Can it be given a color of donation, but it's actually a consideration? So it has to be looked into the each facts of the case, because donation per se is out of the context of supply itself. Because if we read the definition of donation, donation means an act by which a owner of a thing voluntarily transfers the title and possession of the same from himself to another without any consideration. Example, a gift or grant in gratuity. So there is no quid pro quo when a voluntary donation is made, that I don't expect anything in return when I donate something. And it is not that I'm getting something in return or I'm expecting something in return when I make a donation. So donation per se is, I would say that it doesn't fall under the purview of supply itself, because there is no quid pro quo, there is no consideration involved in a donation transaction. And I'm only giving a donation on my own assent and not out of force. Now, we have seen a circular which says that if you make donation and you expect the third party to do something, like you want your name to be highlighted wherever you have given the donation, then it will take the color of a supply, then GST would attract. But if it's just a remark of saying that just that the person who's donated has to be mentioned somewhere, that will still be donation and not a characteristic of a supply. With this background, let us go through the case study and see how we could interrupt the each and every leg of the transaction. So this is the case study. Shri Akhil Bharatiya Sudharm Jain Samskriti Rakshak Sangh is a charitable trust. Now, this trust is registered under 12AA of the Income Tax Act. The objective of the trust is to protect and conserve Jain sacraments, rights, and values. The team works for the conservation of Indian and Jain culture along with the values and rituals. Towards achieving its objectives, it carries out various activities. The following are the activities: conduct of classes, publication of spiritual books, publication of monthly newsletters, providing adequate facilities for devotees visiting sadhus and sadhvis, amongst others. So providing stay facilities. The activities of the trust include the following. So there are various activities given, and we'll have to analyze this from the perspective of whether it's exempted or no. So we'll go each activity wise. The trust has organized an event to promote its objective and awareness about the organization as a whole. So it's a looks like a event to bring awareness. The event was a get together of famous poets, and the members who were interested to be part of the event had to pay a fixed entry fees. Now, entry fees has fixed, but it is fixed at various slabs. So, will this take a color of a donation? Because if it's a fixed entry fees, then you'll have one entry fees. But now, if multiple slabs has been given, so it means that you will get different facilities also. So different slabs has been fixed. The entry was not restricted only to members, and it was open to general public, can be part of the event on payment of any of these fixed fees. The event was managed by an event management company, which was responsible for the complete conduct of event. Now, with this background, I will tell what I feel. I feel that this is a fundraising event wherein the event is organized by the charitable organization to raise funds. That is the primary objective. Because if it is a charitable activity, then they would not have uh, firstly raised a fund. But now, if they've raised it and they are keeping it open to the general public also, so it's a fundraising event and not in the nature of charitable activity. So this, in my view, could be taxable because they are not linked to charitable activities. Venu sir, should we go event by activity by activity so that we can discuss each of them at the respective point instead of going at the end?
No, I think let's discuss then and there.
Right.
Activity by activity.
Okay. So any other views on this activity?
So what incomes on the entry fees that could get exempt in what situation? the Because even during festivals like Ganesha festival and others, you will have an entry ticket, and basis the entry ticket, some prasad and other things would be given.
Right.
So how would you treat that? Because that's not a temple premises. They would take a playground and set up a makeshift Ganesha.
So that may get covered under this exemption of entry charges where it is below 500 rupees. If not, then it will not get covered under serial number 1.
But see, what is the form of the organization who collects this money in this Ganesha in different localities?
Generally, the trade associations of that respective localities form and set it up.
So then once it is trade association, then only exemption for trade association will be entry 77. Generally, this locality Ganesha is unaccounted. No fixed establishment.
But if it is done at a large scale, sir, where done by the trade bodies and they do, they also collect from the respective shops in that locality. and they also put up for price and other things. And
See,
those
if the
shops
members of
are
if the
to the customers.
see if the members of an association contribute towards meeting the common expenses on this occasion, then again they are taxable. If for giving, if they if corporation grounds are taken up, then it becomes an event organizer and therefore liable to tax. Then they will have stalls, food counters. So just consider it. The occasion is Ganesha, but the activity is like a
Business event.
exhibition.
Hmm.
There may be donors who will give food, who will give majge, panka. Many things may be possible, but it's also like a recreational thing during those few days where they'll have a merry-go-round, children's play area, shoot the balloon, all sorts of things. It's going to be like a fair.
Right.
So we have to be very mindful that the religious angle to it does not mean everything is exempt. Secondly, we have to be careful to make sure that being a not-for-profit, how do they actually make an offer to various participants and organizers?
I think in continuation of what Jatin sir is mentioning, basically from the income tax perspective, we always look at the expenditure side to be considered as a charitable entity or not. But in the GST aspect, we need to examine each of the revenue stream and ascertain its taxability. And it is not that where that proceeds are used, how it is used, not relevant. For what purpose the amount is being collected, what is being nomenclated and collected is what has to be looked into. At the same time, the definition of the consideration is to be kept in mind, whether it's directly, indirectly, in respect of, and all those things. An example which Venu was mentioning, that it is also collected from the customer. Once if it is considered as an event, as Jatin sir was mentioning, though from the can it be called as donation, or it would be treated as a consideration for this particular activity being received by somebody else. So that also we need to be mindful of when we are examining this. So that can be considered.
But Rajesh sir, when you say purpose, the purpose of raising these funds is for charitable activities ultimately. That will result in expenditure. So does it not correlate with income tax purpose behind giving exemption under income tax?
But Ganesh, if you see in income tax,
Yes, sir.
the use of the funds should be for charitable purposes. In GST, the source of the fund should be charitable purpose. An example, a trust gives rent out Kalyana Mandapam to raise money. And the Kalyana Mandapam is engaged in renting of immovable property activity. The income from Kalyana Mandapam rental is used for feeding poor children. This entity will get 12AA exemption in income tax. But that does not mean they're exempt from GST. So we'll just have a little bit differentiate between source of funds versus use of funds. I'll give you another example.
Yes, sir.
Tata Trusts in Bombay, I think last year everybody would have seen in paper, they opted out of income tax exemption, saying that this 85% application, all those conditions are too onerous. Nowadays, I'm seeing a lot of not-for-profit who are opting out of 12AA. They will get ATG, they will take registration at the time of formation under 12AA. So the donor will get 80G. The donor can give under CSR, but the trust does not have to comply with 85%. They will pay income tax. So income tax exemption status for every assessment year cannot dictate the exemption under entry 1. What is happening is you should be 12AA. That's all entry 1 says. You can be 12AA and still paying income tax. Because nowadays, strategically, it is advantageous for 12AA societies or trusts in income tax to collect CSR funds and not comply with 85% application, because, like Deepak is talking about fundraising charities, inter-trust donation is barred. If you see that Form
Right, sir.
10B, inter-trust. So both the trust must be substantially of the same object. Very difficult. Fundraising charities may give it to different kinds of funds. So therefore, if application is the only problem, you can decide to pay income tax, but because trusts are very confident that whenever they have surplus funds, they will take up some project and spend off all the money. So therefore, consider income tax not to interfere with GST treatment, except that 12AA should be there.
Right, sir. Correct, sir.
Like how one thing Menosa was saying is, if some organization is conducting this event at a ground, now if they're doing it on a mass scale, what we have seen, like national college, they hold it at a large level and they collect from everyone. On the receipt, they would say just donation itself. But in material, it's actually a sponsorship, saying that you have to pay 10,000 rupees. So it's actually a sponsorship. So if it is seen from a GST perspective, GST would be leviable in that instance.
Sponsorship received from unregistered taxpayers. Registered was under RCM, but when unregistered, was there any exemption?
No exemption, so it's under forward charge then.
Right.
I think, Deepak, you can just discuss about the sponsorship vis-a-vis advertisement fee.
Okay.
Is there any difference?
So in case of advertisement fees, it is where you are providing a specific, say a stall, a specific place where you will market your product of the person who's paying you the fees. So if you're telling that you'll give them a stall and you'll collect the fees, that is advertisement fees. Now, if it is sponsorship, the person paying it will not get a specific stall, but his banners and his logos will be displayed at various places. So in sponsorship fees, they're saying when you're paying as a sponsorship fees, you have to pay under reverse charge if you're a registered person. But if you're not liable to reverse charge, you're not falling under the category of reverse charge, you will pay under forward charge. The event company which is receiving the money, they will have to pay under forward charge. Similar to advertisement services. That's the only difference. Is there anything else?
No, okay. Go ahead. Because many a times I've seen, people trying to say this for that, that for this. So I wanted that, the clarity be brought in.
Okay. So next activity is the trust carries on sale of essential products related to Jainism in a way that the commercialization is not the objective. So it sells limited products related to Jainism, which is Samaik Upkaran, mats, cloths to cover the mouth, garlands made of beads. These are essential to carry on the religious prayers. Apart from the basic requirements, the trust sells t-shirts, religious books, mosquito nets, and bags. So with respect to this activity, sale of merchandise, the charities may sell branded merchandise such as t-shirts, mugs, and anything to raise the funds. Now, there is no exemption under the goods notification for these merchandises, but there is one exemption on puja samagri. But the puja samagri is not like a exclusive that all puja samagris will be exempted. They have specifically mentioned the list of items like Rudraksh and things, which will be specifically, those items only are exempted. So with this activity given in this case study, they are selling items which are related to religious prayers, but nowhere there is an exemption for sale of items related to religious activities. Like in church also, you'll see candles is part of the religious activity, but there is no exemption for sale of candles. So will these items which is sold, this will be taxable? According to me, this will become taxable because these are all in the nature of sale of goods and will make it taxable.
I think things like dhoop, incense sticks, or camphor, those kind of things must have been specifically notified
Yes,
under
sir,
goods
those are
exemption.
noted. Yes, sir, only those are specifically noted. But there is another exemption on religious ceremony. So basically exemption for any religious ceremony carried on. But here there is no religious ceremony which is carried on by somebody. They're just selling the products. And there's no religious ceremony part of this. Will that exemption come and rescue is my question.
I don't think so. Because ceremony should be an event and an activity specific. These mats, masks, everything is used to continuous, so it cannot be fitting on that entry. My view.
Okay, just to give you a question there. So if you conduct a religious ceremony of doing a puja at home and a Saint Pandit comes and he conducts a religious ceremony and he says the charges are 5,000 rupees. These are towards the dhoop and agarbatti which has been purchased, or these are towards the firework, the wood fire which has been purchased. So it's a religious ceremony, but the consideration is not for his service, but for the items what he's bought in.
Consideration would include the items, no?
It just says religious ceremony.
Correct. No, but the consideration which is paid to Pujari is including his fees for conducting the ceremony and the recoup of the cost, the items that he has procured. Correct.
Correct.
So wouldn't still be a principal supply being ceremony and all these are composite supply?
We will be treating it as a composite supply and fitting it under this. We are trying to say that it's a composite service of religious ceremony, and that's where it is exempted.
Yeah.
Correct.
So there has to be, are we trying to derive that there has to be a person who should conduct this religious ceremony, only then we will give this exemption? Or can it be that the activity, I'm just trying to understand this thing. Can it be done by self and still be treated as conduct of religious ceremony?
Can you please explain what is the facts when there could be GST? The question of incidence of GST when Deepak is sitting and doing one religious ceremony, let us say during
Right.
Paryushan time.
No, and putting it differently, those are used as inputs to perform thing, and it is not a ritual by itself. See, the amount is not charged for that ritual. It is only these you are purchasing for doing it. So how can those items be treated as a thing? Assume that they some of these havanas, pujas, and all those things nowadays. These pujaris do charge a lump sum fee, including all the materials. So there, possibly, if they bring everything and do everything, and they are doing a composite thing, probably it can be looked as an exempt. But whereas these items are sold separately, though they may take and attend that particular whatever the how puja or havana or a program or a event. So how can that be constituted to be falling into that particular exemption? You have to look at that, Deepak. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. So it becomes like a sale of a material than conducting of a religious ceremony in such instance, where somebody is doing it independently and buying it and performing himself.
Can it be compared with the hospital services where we go to a doctor and when the medicine is given along with that particular activity, then the entire thing gets exempt. But if it is sold in the medical store, then it becomes separate. So here also can we take a similar contention that just like a puja ceremony is an activity where the puja is being done. So it could be either with the religious activity or ceremony, it could be with the material or without material. It depends on the individual contract at that point of time is what I feel.
Yes.
Deepak can proceed.
Yeah, I agree with you. What I'm trying to say is, if the organization does not conduct the fact, I'll just tell you the facts that the organization does not conduct the religious ceremony directly, but it sells the items which are required for the religious ceremony. Okay, so there could be a person who is performing this, but in the process of performing this religious ceremony, these are the items which you have to essentially buy. Now, can it be included as a composite supply is my question. From the aspect of composite supply, it will not be, because there is no primary supply. So then it will be charged at the individual item level. But is there any way I can bring it as a composite supply? I think no. So that's why it will be chargeable at the respective item level itself.
Yes, Deepak.
Okay, so we'll conclude that it is taxable. Third activity is with the advancement of modernization and to cater to the youth of the trust. The trust carries on special workshops and training programs to inculcate the traditional learning and spiritual stories amongst the youths. In such event, people from across the country attend the event held in September 23, and around 500 participants took part. A nominal fees of 5,000 rupees was charged from each participant. Now, the training programs which are conducted, we have seen that there are other exemption notifications, but those are in relation to any educational activity conducted and things. So this is not falling under the educational activities category. Now, some charitable organization may offer services for a fee, such as counseling services, also in this case, educational workshops and any training programs. So these will be taxable. We'll have to read this along with the circular, which gave clarification on yoga service, saying that yoga as an activity is falling under charitable activities, so that is exempted. Now, if you have yoga camps wherein people have to come and stay there, the primarily service is providing yoga training, or the whole objective is meditation in yoga, and stay and food is ancillary. So it said that it is still exempted. But in this case, it is purely a training program, and this is of related to religious activity, but still this is a training program, not any of those activities which are charitable institution under the definition of charitable activities. So this, in my view, will also be taxable.
Advancement of religion.
Advancement of religion. How far we can stretch that to any kind of training activities?
I don't know, but isn't it that that is why this activity is conducted?
True. Yeah, we can say so.
And so this will fit under the entry one itself.
Correct.
That's my view. So
We
what
can
would be the
proceed.
question to prove during the course of the assessment to say this is an activity fits under exemption?
Yeah, I will see that. What are the charitable activity definitions that we. Advancement of religious, spiritual, or yoga. They just said that. So activities related to advancement of religious could be the thing that the training is conducted for advancement of religion.
So again, so maybe you can throw more light on how do you say this is advancement?
ಏನಪ್ಪ ಡೌಟ್ ದೀಪಕ್?
So whether the training activities will be falling under advancement of religion or no?
Training activities to members of the community or to people who from the community have devoted themselves to become religious priests.
Can be so. Now, the facts say that it's just to general public and not to religious priests as such.
In all these cases, like what Venu was saying, it is for advancement of a religion. How do you get a father in a church or a priest in a temple? They have to go through very strict training. There are a lot of, in fact, they give diploma and degree equivalent qualification in the particular religious learning. And if you connect the training to the objective of the training, there can be two things. One is members of the community for more deeper understanding about the religious scriptures, they may undergo classes. Some may actually undergo classes with an objective of becoming a religious priest. All these come within advancement of religion, whether they themselves pay the fees or they are sponsored by somebody, even if it is prescribed rate for 3-week course 2,000 rupees, for 2-year course 50,000 rupees. If they specify like that also, it will come within the scope of advancement of religion, because this is a very broad concept under entry 1. Although it is called charitable, we have to differentiate that charitable is not what we understand charitable in 12AA. Charitable is what is defined in GST to be charitable.
Jatin sir, in the continuation of what you are mentioning, I think this 12AA, sometimes they will not specifically be registered in a particular religion because they doesn't want to specify that, but they may be doing activity to a particular religion. Still, this particular, I mean, in other ways, my question is whether they should be directly connected to any specific religion or any religion would work.
As in you are saying that whether
so in this case, Jain, but they also conduct one, Veda Purana event, or the knowledge about Vedas. Okay, they're actually registered as a Jain, promoting and other things, but they also conduct one event for a training relating to Vedas or something, or to give a preachings about Vedas, where that entry fee will be there. So whether that can the authority come out and say, no, you are is only to specific sect, but you are doing something else. So will that be questioned? In my view, they can't question it, but is there anything else from your side?
No, I agree with you, because Jains don't know that they don't have a deity. In Deepak?
Yes, sir.
Alva?
What is the deity that has to be defined?
See, the Tirthankar is the image of the Tirthankar is worshipped. But the whole principle of Jainism is that there is no God. Unlike the Vedas, where there is a very specific history, antecedents, how the particular deity was born, etc. But I agree with you, Rajesh, that they cannot come and start analyzing what that Jain organization can do, because ultimately Jainism teaches about ahimsa, and if they feel that to explain that better, they want to have a program relating to Vedas, Upanishads, Smritis, etc., they're welcome to have that, because ultimately advancement of religion, spirituality will now be non-specific to any one area. It could be comparative study of different theologies, and of course extends up to yoga. So I agree with you, Rajesh.
Yeah, thanks. Deepak, you can proceed.
Yes. So yeah, advancement of religion is one broad thing which I thought is not there, but yeah, so thanks for bringing that up. That yes, advancement of religion will cover these activities. So these training activities conducted to take this religious forward will become part of this and will be exempted. Now,
Deepak, sorry, one more issue here. Can we bring some, even we have motivational speakers also, who will be speaking on religious and connecting with the reality of the life. So can we bring that into an advancement of religion or spirituality? Some can we connect
Madam,
there?
give example.
Sir, like we have some
Gaur
like,
Gopal Das.
Ram Gopal Das or Raj
See, now
Devi.
you have to differentiate between Shiv Khera and Gaur Gopal Das. Gaur
Okay.
Gopal Das also is highly educated man. It's not like he's not having any formal education.
Hmm.
And if you see in ISKCON, there are IIT graduates who have got into spirituality in a very big way.
Yes, sir.
So we have to identify whether it is Shiv Khera. Shiv Khera is general Gyan.
Yes, sir.
Because in America,
Yes,
they
sir.
fall for all such things.
Yeah.
So you
Correct.
have to differentiate whether it is spiritual. And if you see Gaur Gopal Das, ultimately all his discourses come into spirituality. He does not
Yes.
go away from spirituality. But
Yeah.
Shiv Khera is not for spirituality. It is generally for where man is the most important being in the universe.
Yes, sir.
Spirituality. That is Shiv Khera.
Yes, sir.
So that
So
little
that
bit we
is-
have to keep in mind.
Yes, sir. Okay. Sir.
Any other religious leaders you can think of that Coimbatore person, no?
Isha Foundation, they also
Ah.
charge
Okay.
75,000 rupees, 3-day Vipassana, etc.
Sister Shivani from Brahma Kumari.
No, these are all. Do they touch spirituality or are they agnostic? There's one person, I think.
Maitri, Mahatraya, Rai.
Raghavan.
What is that? No spirituality, yeah? I am only God. That type,
You are the God. You are the God.
Infinitism.
yeah, the
Infinitism. You are
Infinitism.
self God.
ah,
No, not self-God.
Meaning
They connect it to the business concept
He's
and all
more
of
like
that.
the professional
Principles,
coach.
principles are connected to business kind.
oh, so their MDP program basically. MDP ಎಲ್ಲ spirituality ಇಲ್ಲ ಬಿಡಿ.
And Osho also, I mean, initially, earlier.
Osho ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಏನದು. But whoever you're identifying, you have to please be able to demonstrate that they're talking about spirituality, and spirituality is creator God. The supreme God will be in the center of the whole conversation. If man is in the center of the conversation, then it is unlikely to be spirituality. Can you give some examples of somebody who speaks what they speak? Breathe nicely, eat nicely, sleep nicely. You will become better. Think positive things. All that is not spiritual. All that is MDP program. God should be in the center of the universe, in that whole discourse.
What is MDP, sir?
Management Development Program of
ICAI.
ICAI.
Okay.
Dr. Shetty's speech recently.
Dr. Shetty na yaradu?
Devi Shetty.
Dubai doctor.
No, Dr. Devi Shetty.
See, that is only health, no? Health and awareness and diet and cardiology and all that, no? That is marketing. No, any of these people who have a large following, can you do you know anybody who does not talk about God?
There's a lot of them. Art of Living.
Art of Living, what is it? Art of Living, anybody has attended? Anybody is has attended those
Student days.
programs?
Yeah,
Yes,
student days
sir.
doing
I mean, they teach about the Sudarshana Kriya.
What is that one?
yoga. How
English,
to do
English.
Yoga, sort of Sudarshan Kriya, Surya Namaskar. Then breathing, how to breathe.
Abhishek confused kar yoga hai ya nahi hai, because yoga maybe there are accounting standards you have to follow strictly. Everybody is not auditor atara. Everything is not yoga.
No, so they're limited to Surya Namaskar only, sir, I believe.
No,
Matlab kya-
Sudarshana Kriya is more a meditative process for
So it is not yoga, no?
well-being. Yeah, no, sir, it is not.
Abhishek, then it is single entry system, not double, no accounting standard there. See, ultimately, if they follow a protocol, then only they can say that it is that, isn't it?
They follow their own protocol. That's the thing which
But it's
makes
possible, is it possible to call it spirituality if they have their own protocol? Okay, in that maybe Annapurna, you can tell us when they say about Sudarshana Kriya, is there any God? Is there God in the whole discourse? The Kriya.
And in as far as the specific Sudarshana Kriya technique is concerned, it is more about body mind control and relaxing and upliftment of the mental well-being kind of a thing. But the discourse, yes, sir.
Spa type.
Sir, no, I mean.
No, you only have to define tomorrow if you get a notice. See, and Art of Living is a very, very big organization and very serious. A lot of people very seriously follow it. So we should be able to. You should be able to define it in on paper as to how it is, and ultimately, if you're able to show that there is God at the center of whole thing, then all the related things also will be, because then of course well-being, meditation, all those things also can come within that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if ultimately there is no creator God in the middle of all of those things, then it will become MDP program. But I think
No,
Art of
sir,
Living is very much spirituality, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They have, I mean, the bhajans part of it, and even they have mantra yogas where about God and stuff it is taught. Yeah. So
Is
this
it
is
Hinduism?
one. Yes, sir. It is.
Then and normally investigating agencies don't take panga with God.
Yeah.
Because most of the religious organizations are highly connected people, and therefore if anyone tries to test the definition, then they'll normally get into trouble. But we should not make a mistake in filing replies saying that it is only breathing, it is only welfare, it's only meditation. We should bring spirituality into the center of the whole reply. And these are all very essential aspects of our Indian culture. We have various interpretations of spirituality. That is very essential. We can't say very strictly there has to be 4 tests. In fact, there are many aspects of Jito organization, to the extent I know, where they also promote strictly following the religious practices. There's one side of it which is to promote welfare of the members of that community, etc. But it's not like it's some party time. There's a lot of discipline there also. So we have to be very careful how we reply. Instead of holistically should project the explanation to department if it is questioned. Deepak, continue madappa.
If you see, there is 2 definitions. One is religion, one is spirituality. So when they've distinguished and used 2 specific words, religion is separate and spirituality is without religion. Should spirituality be related to the religion, or it can be independent?
Very good point. Maybe we hear some views from people.
Now, these examples which we took of, say, this infinitesium. Now, he is not into religion, it is only into spirituality. So can I not say it is an advancement of spirituality and still I can claim the benefit there? The fact is that he is not registered under 12AA, so he's charging GST. But say if he's registered under 12AA, not a religious, under the religious activity, but only under spirituality, I feel he can still claim 12AA benefit, this charitable activity benefit also.
I don't think so.
So you feel spirituality is connected to religion then?
No, spirituality is not connected to any religion, but God being the centric is the important thing.
Okay.
Like be good cannot be spirituality. Be good, do good cannot be spirituality.
In spirituality, there is a subjective experience of sacred dimension is one of the things which is mentioned. Deepest values of meanings on which people live. Belief in a supernatural realm beyond the observable world, personal growth and self-reflection. So can we look at the words which have been used? Then why not even when we are looking at spirituality, when there's a part of management development program also, sir, don't you think it will get covered under spirituality, sir?
See, actually, management development program is very business oriented. Then tomorrow IMB will say their spirituality. Management development program is to understand the effectiveness of various approaches to management. Some can say there's authoritarian management, some can say democratic way of management. These are all structured learning to help people understand what are the various methods available, and for each one to decide which one to follow in a given organization. If it's a very labor intensive industry, it has to be more authoritarian. Where there is knowledge workers, it has to be more consultative. Things like this. That has no spirituality in it. Now, spirituality, I think, should be above materiality. Do you think that we can agree on that? Saying that it should be something beyond materiality.
Yes, sir.
So then we'll be able
Then
to cover.
there has to be a linkage with regard to religious activity somewhere, or is it not required, sir?
No, but that infinity, there's also something like that, no?
Infinity is something. Infinity is something.
Madam, I will talk to you later about it. Okay. So in that one, I have heard that it is, maybe Madam can explain a little bit what they do. They don't talk about any specific deity,
Yeah.
but they definitely acknowledge a higher power. Abdiya Madam, Ilya.
Sir, it's, I mean, to my limited understanding, spirituality, what I understand is that it is about transcendence. You reach the level of nirvana, detached attachment to, reach the level of, mukti you call. That is
So
called.
here they teach that also?
No, infinity is something different. That is more about reaching your goals, life, how you should have a holistic life. That is different. What I'm saying is that spirituality, there is a thin line of difference between religion and MDP program. Spirituality falls in this area, which is very difficult to, explain. But that is what is my understanding of spirituality. That means you should not have too much of attachment towards anything.
No, but here, no, I'll give you an example. There is something nowadays in Japanese, they have started this thing called minimalism. You know that?
I don't know.
One lady is there. She will tell everybody to sell off everything in the house, one shirt, one pant, one footwear you have to keep, and then only you'll be happy. Now, this should not stretch to that extent to say that that is also spirituality. You understand? We have to be a little bit clear where to draw the line.
No, abundance also comes under spirituality, sir. What you are talking about is minimalization, something.
Minimalism, there's a very, it's a big thing where everyone started to, many people are talking about it, following it, and so on.
So basically here if you look at infinitism, see what are all the things which are covered are something on detached attachment, holistic living, and a concentration of doing nothing for a particular day, so that you get into your senses and you try to see what has to be implemented. But there are programs which are in the nature of business oriented programs, which where specifically it is very clear that it's only going to be concentrating on profit and other things. It could be on an aspect where we are going to earn something. So which is going to give us more on the management development side of it. That is a separate portion. But there is another portion which is also having a complete aspect which with regard to transcendence. So all these aspects, 100% that aspect is a spiritual aspect. There is a management side of it which we should separately keep it aside, is what I feel. So
I think Deepak, that is the correct. I think that Chandrasekhar has provided the right balance between spirituality, which is little in the more different from strictly what is religious teaching. So therefore, spirituality should be read to accommodate all these new ultimate new thoughts that spiritually learned people have proposed, so that it does not become a pure IIM program. We have to draw that line there. If education, betterment, etc., that is separate, but this will come within the scope of this. Ultimately, this has to be done by a 12AA organization. That is a good approach, what Chandrasekhar is suggesting. But you have to comment, Deepak.
On spirituality, it is not.
How do we distinguish basically spirituality and religious these things? I mean, is it based on the rituals or?
Look at it this way: the way they have constructed this also, religious, spirituality or yoga. So do you see descending order of rank or ascending order of rank? Is there a broader sphere of coverage or a narrower sphere of coverage in the way they have drafted use these words?
Narrowing it down from religion being with a deity and spirituality.
So one end is strictly religion according to religious scriptures. On other end is yoga. Yoga is based on the master imparting knowledge to the student over generations. So the placement of spirituality in between both can also probably, again, it aligns with what Chandrasekhar mentioned about how to identify spirituality. There could be elements of where that learning can be used for profit making, but ultimately there also it says excessive profit making is not a recommended thing. Welfare of people will also be built into those teachings. Somewhere in that interpretation also possibly you can consider. Chandrasekhar, your comments, what you have seen in organizations which have this type of approach? Oh, tiffin ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೋದ್ರಾ? Okay, Deepak, continue.
Illa sir. I was here only. I was just trying to locate something else. So what you told is right, sir. And whatever I have understood in that particular aspect is that much only, sir. That's what
See, one thing definitely I will suggest to everybody: if you get a notice, if you get a client, if you get an opinion, we should go and attend that program. See, you may not be a practitioner of that faith, but to be able to advise or provide reply to notice, handle department, please go and attend one program of Ravi Shankar, program of infinity theism. Attend these things to understand, because many times if we don't go to factory, we will not understand manufacture. But Deepak, continue, madam.
And whatever Venu had put on landmark is completely more like a management thing, sir, when it is considered like the Shivikara program. So there is no doubt at all per se. Only when it is done by organizations which are already having a banner either of the religious or based on spirituality, then there could be a bifurcation we might have to do within that particular set.
Correct. Next activity is the trust has a land which was donated by one of the members at outskirts of Bangalore, and since the member could not attend this location, the trust has constructed a marriage hall and is let for use of general public with certain conditions. It is collecting a rental of 9,000 rupees per day for public who wants to use the hall, and the room charges are additional at 2,000 rupees per day. So we know that the exemption is on renting of presence of the religious place, this is not a presence within the presence of religious place, so this will be taxable. Even though the charges have been kept below the threshold there, it will still be chargeable because the conditions are not fulfilled. And this, I think no other exemption could fit in according to me. So both of these will be charged completely. I think nothing much to discuss in this, right? Or is there any other point, Venu sir, you have something?
Illama.
Nothing.
Next is interesting. The trust also has stay facility at the location of the main trust building where prayers and religious activities are regularly conducted, which is within the heart of the city. The room rent is charged at 1,000 rupees per day. Now that exemption says that within the religious thing, within the presence of the premises, and charges up any amount above 1,000 rupees. So since the charge is 1,000 rupees here, it means the exemption is for up to an amount of 999 rupees. So if the rent is 1,000 rupees, then this will also become taxable.
Can just repeat that entry?
Renting of rooms where charges are 1,000 rupees or more per day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where charges are 1,000 rupees or more per day.
I think here is what there was some advance ruling which was there in that some Chaturmas something where Sanjay sir had represented, and I think there was some points in this regard where they told that it was something beyond where initially you gave that 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees and 5,000 rupees, 3 categories. So there also similar activity was done where there was a religious Chaturmas program which was there, and they had charged different categories, and there was some rooms which were given basically. So those were told that it becomes renting of a
Renting of
individual
residential.
property, and it becomes taxable. It is not a religious activity. Is I don't know that I could not. I don't remember the conclusion what was given. Yeah.
This is room rent. That was not a room rent. That was like a rental for a month.
Deepak, your voice is low, not audible.
Yeah. Is it better now, sir?
Yes,
Yes,
Deepak.
yes.
So there, the facts was that it was not renting of rooms which were charged on per day basis. It was that you can stay over there for a month and monthly charges was collected. So that was not being covered under this exemption. That was covered under renting of residential premises, renting of residential dwelling. So there it was exempted under that category of renting of residential.
See, this area actually has a lot of controversy. I'll give 3 instances. The one is within the temple premises, there are rooms, dormitory style rooms, where people can go and stay there. The purpose is to provide accommodation as part of the participation in the religious ceremony. Another is where accommodation is set up like a retreat center where people can stay for a weekend just for rejuvenation. The third is where it is nothing to do with religion. So in this Amritsar Golden Temple, there was an incident where they have what is called like a traveler's bungalow. Traveler's bungalow, they have accommodation, and since the issue got raised at that time with Golden Temple to make the accommodation come within the temple precinct. They actually demolished the building in between the two. Golden Temple compound was at one place. There was one building next to the compound. Then there was this accommodation. They demolished that in between building and said that this is now precinct. There was one decision in service tax from somewhere near Karwar, where they said it can be in a different location also, as long as it is part of that establishment. There's one instance in Bangalore where part of the premises has been given for joint development to put up a commercial building. So we have to be very careful when we say precinct of a religious place. It must be contiguous and cannot be differentiated. But if the municipal records, they have shown plot number 60 A and B, where plot number 60A has been identified as a religious premises and exempt from corporation tax, but B has been demarcated and commercial tariffs are being collected by municipality, then you cannot say that it is a precinct, it is just adjacent. Take each individual example and see how it will happen. Maybe Venu or anybody who has visited Tirupati can say whether that accommodation that is available, is it in the precinct or in the below the hills? If you have visited in Trishur, if you have visited like Guruvayur, for example, do you have accommodation? Dharmasthala. Identify specific Puri. Mantralaya is an excellent example. Then there is one Mathura is another example. In West Bengal, there is one place. No, what is that? West Bengal, there is one place, again very famous, where there are accommodations. People don't go because you're going in a very sort of a worship mode. You don't want to go and stay in a star hotel and enjoy the luxury, and here you're concentrating on worship. So to create that worship environment without the inconvenience of not having a proper room to sleep or a proper wash facilities, etc., these things have to be created. We should not take this to such an extreme absurd extent to say that a resort type accommodation also will be treated as exempt. So that differentiation, maybe we should take individual examples and see how we can establish that.
Sir, one doubt here. When we say precinct, Tirupati, the whole of the at the Tirumala, which is on the top, would all be considered as the precinct of the temple, sir?
I have not seen it, but if it is one contiguous revenue record, then I think it can be treated as a precinct. But if they say below the hills they have accommodation, part of the trust, it cannot be treated as precinct. In where is that? In Trishur, Sabarimala. Accommodations. See, there are accommodation for without much facilities, accommodation with luxurious facilities. We have to differentiate from the nature of facilities provided, whether it is for rest and relaxation or for worship.
Got it.
Sir, in Tirupati or Tirumala, basically the entire hill is being owned by basically the rights have been given to the TTD.
No, but actually, Chandrasekhar, we can't go with ownership because if you see Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Bangalore, Residency Road, it is owned by the church, that land. So ownership may not be a test. We have to examine the utilization of that property by the trust. What are they using it for? Is it part of the worship activities conducted there, or is it part of income generating activities in that property?
Because of the shortage of space today, earlier, sir, in the temple only, there was a accommodation which was available.
Correct.
But over a period of time, today, because of the number of people visiting, they're not able to accommodate. So they have started utilizing all those spaces, and
Very good.
they have put across additional, whatever it could be, a queue complex, it could be what your dormitory style of accommodations which have been provided, and it has been expanding day after day. And in
No,
that,
but
again, they have given a couple of food restaurants. They have given it on lease for that restaurants also. It has been given, sir, actually.
see,
And
ultimately, the purpose of that accommodation is connected with the worship.
correct, sir. Yes.
It's not that you can use it for other purpose also. You're going for a hearing in Tirupati, Central Tax Department. You can stay here for and get ready and go for the hearing. Correct, no?
Okay, okay. I think that is fine, sir. I think what you're
Sir, in GST, actually, how we refer these precedents, can we borrow from service tax reference? Because there was some circular, sir, which clarified what is precedents.
See, I feel it is dangerous to borrow like that, but we can refer to that once. But I would say we have to now provide the facts. What is a precinct? Because it has to have reference to whether how we have told other regulators. Have we told them that it is a separate corporation number or it's the same property? These things can have good bearing.
Okay, sir. Okay. Because for service tax, we were referring that circular, sir, and that southern eastern case was there, sir. But I think difficult to borrow in GST, sir, because there is no such specific.
Yeah, correct. We have to be careful when we borrow. We should not be confident when we borrow.
Okay, sir.
Sir, if that luxury or comfort is not connected to the, it's connected only with the, purpose, then why that exemption of renting of rooms less than 1,000 rupees is exempted, sir? Because special darshan and normal darshan. Special darshan is at a higher price because it is a way to filter the crowd or to, regulate the crowd or to give some kind of special treatment for people.
No, but darshan is anyway separate, no? Accommodation only we are saying.
Accommodation also, then what is the reason for them to give it up to 1,000 rupees? Like when they charge 5,000 or 10,000 per
No,
day.
that is only policy decision, how to come out with a break-even point. And I don't think we should refer exclusively luxury, because if there is let us say there is a temple where they have VVIP. Bill Clinton is coming, Bill Gates is coming, PM ministers are coming. Then for them, accommodation, what normally we may consider luxurious, for them it may be ordinary. Because they want to invite such VVIP guests, they want to provide sufficient facilities. So luxury is also a very dynamic definition. We have to see who are they getting it, what is the purpose for which they're getting it. I think if worship is in the center of everything, that's a reliable basis to differentiate.
Clear, so that is a good indicator to see that.
Sir, I have one question, Deepak.
Yes, sir.
We have the circular 66, where it is saying specifically where the camps which charges the fees, including lodging, boarding, would be exempt if the special objective or the purpose is advancement of religion. Okay. Now, the people who organize the tour, spiritual tour, where the fees charge is including the lodging, boarding, and the travel, but the centering of it is the visiting the temple premises.
Right.
Can those activity would be exempt? Let's take the basic condition, the person who's doing fits under 12AA and ATG.
Okay.
So they provide, they take the camps and other things.
So the main objective, like how we had dealt with this yoga activity, wherein if it is a yoga camp, and what is the main objective? So there also it is a composite supply, wherein the main objective was to conduct this yoga as a training activity. So since the main activity was yoga activity, others became incidental and it could be treated as exempted. So similarly, in this case, you're saying like a trip for it's like Char Dham Yatra.
Yeah, Jito is doing Chardham Yatra.
Okay. So again, there it comes whether it's a 5-star kind of a thing or a regular thing. A normal Char Dham Yatra is for the purpose of religious thing itself.
Correct.
Then it will be for the purpose of religious thing itself.
So let's say Jito is collecting 1 lakh per member for doing Chardham Yatra. Can we say that 1 lakh which is collected predominantly is for the travel and the food and stay?
So it's a trip which will it's trying to cover the luxurious part of travel itself, right? It is not, the objective is not that you should go there and stay in those premises which is being offered. So here you will get luxurious benefits.
Can you use composite supply for exemption notification? Is it possible to use composite mixed supply concept in exemption notification? Or should we, because if you see entry number 13, because they're talking about accommodation while dealing with services for religious ceremony. The HSN reference in column number 2, somebody pointed this out to me, is not referred to in the title of the notification. The notification does not say exemption described in column number 3, covered by HSN code in column number 2. There are many entries where column number 2 says chapter 99. So we have to be careful not to think that composite mixed supply will help us in the exemption. We have that Mother Superior decision of Supreme Court. Then Dilip Kumar judgment. We have to come within column 3. We cannot depend on column 2 of the exemption notification. So therefore, this composite mixed Deepak may not apply for exemption notification entries.
Jatin sir, you are on the point of composite supply mixes. Section 8, in fact, I have this doubt. When it talks about, the tax liability on a composite mixture should be determined in the following manner. So when it talks about tax liability, it is for determining the tax liability vis-a-vis a rate notification. Does it stop there, or it continues even to determine the entry in an exemption notification?
No, if we see, yeah, no, you're right. If we see that language of
Section 8.
No, the notification under 9 or 11, the heading part of it, it is very clear there that we can't use section 8 or explanatory notes or HSN code to support the scope of any exemption. If you see 11 bar 17, sometimes the description goes beyond the scope of any entry. For example, that 12% for above 1,000 rupees, it does not limit to 9972 or 9963. So therefore, when we are reading 11 bar 17 or 12 bar 17, we have to be careful not to assume whatever is there in HSN entry will automatically help us clarify the scope. HSN does not, column 2 does not dictate column 3. Column 3 dictates column 2. That is how we may have to read it.
True. I think I got it. You can proceed further.
Sir, for entry 13, the column 2 says any other heading under section 9. Which
Correct.
means,
So that's why we have to see whether you fit. That's why whether we fit within the strict wordings of column 3 is to be examined. Then only we should go with HSN, because this composite mixed, like Deepak example we are discussing, this 4 locations visit with 1 lakh package. If you show very clearly saying that if you don't pay 1 lakh, you have to make your own travel arrangements. If you pay 1 lakh, travel arrangements also included, that composite mixed may not work here. It should be darshan 1 lakh rupees at all 4 locations. Accommodation is free for everybody. Then it's a different thing. But normally it will not be like that. It is a fundraising activity for those religious organizations, isn't it? And when Jito does it, it is not even religious activity.
but Jito, yeah, correct.
Because they are not running those 4 institutions, those places of worship. Slowly Jito will do everything. Sanjay, Deepak, ella. So we have to be very careful that column 2 should not sort of make us confidently proceed to understand the language of column 3. It should be other way around.
Sir,
So
but
what
Jito
can
is a
be an
12 AA.
example of-
But Jito is a 12 AA entity, no, sir?
No, but they are. Now, within what Jito does, you have to differentiate whether they are doing advancement of religion or not. Because what happens, even 12 AA of Jito may be at risk. If they do charitable and religious, they are conducting, let us say, education for children, Jain children who are interested in pursuing higher education like civil services, CA, LLB, whatever, IIT, NEET, etc. So there it is not advancement of religion. I don't know how they have structured their objects. If they say all beneficiaries have to be Jains, then it can be Jain, could be religious. But if they say it is charitable, then they may not be able to come within the scope of entry 1. And within one 12 AA, I don't know if Jito is one 12A organization or multiple 12A organizations under the same structure. Then there, if objects are different, then contribution to each other will become will not be an application under 12 AA, under 11.
Okay.
Madam, Annapurna madam, is it one entity or multiple entities, madam?
Sir. Hello.
Madam, neeve. Jito incharge neeve alva. One organization or multiple organizations?
Sir, one day, sir.
Single organization. So
Yes.
therefore, because we should not put at risk from GST point of view, the income tax exemption, because it's a very well endowed organization, lot of funds they collect, and we should, income tax risk is very high. Today, government is going after all religious organizations also. So, Venu,
Sir, you said that column 3 should dictate over column 2. Sir, hey, I mean, can we understand it with an example where column 2 dictates column 3 and vice versa, sir?
No, it will never do, because if you see the heading, when you read the notification, this notification issued under where the central government is satisfied that it is necessary in public interest so to do. When they start with that, you will not find reference to column 2 there. That's heading already.
Okay, sir. So, Ivaga, I mean, if we take that 66 entry, they have limited the
And
HSN
also,
code to 2.
Correct,
Also
exactly.
the explanation bureau also says that.
Correct. That is why don't bother about entry when it comes to entry 66. What is in column number 2? Because they have not updated. They made one amendment. Then they stop making it, because inward and outward both are covered in entry 66.
How's sir? Only 2 HSNs are specified there.
So don't bother about the column 2.
Oh,
Whatever.
oh, okay.
So this comes back, Deepak, to your point, whether composite supply can be used here.
I was actually carried away with the circular which said that in case of exemption, so should not rely there.
Mother Superior Adoration Convent versus State of Kerala judgment, please read very carefully. It is trying to differentiate Dilip Kumar also. Dilip Kumar was in the customs context, very wonderful judgment. They're trying to give subcategories here. So please be very careful. Justice Nariman's judgments, we have to read very carefully. Okay, Venu sir, you can conclude your example that Char Dham Yatra.
Sir, I'm still thinking as to why exemption should not prevail. I still feel exemption can hold. I'm just thinking I don't have a right answer to it yet, sir.
Please examine if it is, you can buy components or you have to buy single package.
Correct.
And is it collected by the organization conducting those? Because there are 4 organizations must be. All 4 of them, what are they, if they're separately collecting? If somebody else is collecting single, then it is make my trip. It is not 12AA at all. It is not even entry 13.
Right.
You know, like this destination, like medical tourism, destination
Correct.
wedding. Now,
Yeah.
religious activity also, if you see people who go to Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jordan, Egypt, there are 4 or 5 places where they visit. It's a single package. Tour operators have a package. You pay so much, you'll go to all these places. It's completely religious based. You don't have any recreation, nothing. But you go to all those 4 or 5 countries, visa, travel, accommodation, food, camel ride, everything is taken care. The purpose is religious. But they're still tour operator only.
Got it.
So they don't offer any categories of accommodation, sir, or they do?
No, even if 1.5 lakh rupees dormitory style accommodation, 2 lakh rupees individual rooms, 5 lakh rupees luxury resort.
So similarly, even travel also, it could be by train, by flight, by helicopter,
Absolutely,
all
absolutely,
these
absolutely. Perfect example. Very wonderful example. But so Angirvaga, the religious aspect somewhere goes in the background. You and God, you said, Madakali, I am only giving you package.
Right. Got it, sir.
See, then what will happen? Medical tourism will become mixed supply. From Africa, come to Narayana Vidyalaya for cardiac surgery. Then on the way back, you go to Ooty for 1 week and then go to Africa.
Correct.
Sir, ಈಗ KSRTC is conducting ಇದು to Tirupati one day
Correct.
package. So ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ sir?
How
They're all
12%?
for profit.
How 12%? 12%.
ಅದೆಲ್ಲ, yeah.
Venu sir, I've come up with one thing, client's query that some similar to Jito organization. They're conducting a tour. So they are not collecting the charges. They have identified and negotiated with the travel agencies. Members who are interested, please make the payment directly to the travel agency. So they will try to keep these collection outside their main thing itself.
ಅದೇ ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಯಾರು ಇರ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲಿ.
Sir, similarly, even though it is routed through us, if it is a pure agent concept, I'm only collecting and providing. The ticket is everything is issued directly from the instead of Jito, it will be done to the directly to each of the individual participant.
No, but it may not be pure agent. If you don't pay, will they have a claim against you directly? No.
No, sir. No, sir. There, what
it is
will
reimbursement
happen
at
is
actuals.
we
It's
will
not
get
pure
each-
agent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It will be done at actuals. So, and the invoice also will be raised on the individual persons only is what I'm telling, sir. There.
Now we have to examine a little more. Looks like there is some evidence tampering going on here.
Yeah.
ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಂಪರಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. ಇವಾಗ
See what happens is
the individual, ಇವಾಗ ನಾನ್ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ ಆ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಟೂರ್ಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ್ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲೇ they will raise the invoice directly, but it will be paid through ಜೀತೋ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಸರ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
So now if you take an organization which has gone and negotiated everything beforehand, they are telling them to cut in. ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಯಾರ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದಂಗ ಆಯ್ತು. That is evidence tampering. Beforehand itself everything is worked out. No, so there is no pure agent here. If Chandrasekhar pays the client's 140A payment challan, it is pure agent because primary obligation is of those two people. But if Chandrasekhar decides that his fees of 1 lakh rupees for tax audit includes any balance of 140A payment, then it is not pure agent. We are splitting it. That 7 conditions in Rule 33 very clearly requires a primary contract between the payer, the beneficiary and the payee. Here everything is negotiated, closed, and then invoice is generated as per my instructions. I will tell you, you raise invoices to those people. It is not a case of, it may not be a case of pure agent.
Okay.
But also, can there be only pure agent without main service?
That is also not there possible, no?
Continue, Deepak.
Thanks. So the next activity is the trust is keen to start an educational institution in line of Jain Group of Institution, which has grown its own university. Now this trust cannot do it. So it has decided it could not open an educational institution. So it has decided to let its land to Jain University for running its college. So the college pays the rental charges, and this charitable organization provides the land on rental basis to the Jain College. Now, will this be taxable as exempted as services of an educational institution? Because the educational institution is running the educational institution, it's only paying me rent. Now, for income tax purposes, application, the source might be that it is not business, that it is giving to educational institution, that's fine. But for GST purposes, we'll have to examine, is it a charitable activity? Not directly a charitable activity. Is it doing an educational service? It is not doing an educational service. Services provided to an educational institution, only those limited activities. So it is out from all of those exemptions. So I think it has to, since it is excluded from all of these exemptions, it will have to collect GST on the rental, what it charges to the educational institution.
Yeah.
Jitendra, is there anything else we could think of to make this exempted?
I don't think so. Because vacant land is only for agricultural produce and nothing else.
True. Any other comments? We'll go to the next activity. The trust has been a main sponsor for a youth event in Hubli. The objective was to support the Youth Federation for their religious inculcation, and the trust did not expect the event organizers to mention its name anywhere. but since it was the main sponsor, the organizers has predominantly mentioned its name across the main entrance gate, food stalls, and on the souvenirs which is issued to the participants. So we had discussed this just a time. Rajesh sir was saying that we'll have to distinguish this with advertisement services. So this is a sponsor service itself, where you're sponsoring for a event held by another trust, and you are making a sponsorship there. So on sponsorship, we have reverse charge if it is a entity which is a company, but this is not a company, so reverse charge will not come. But the sponsoring, I am doing it, it's in the nature of expense for me. So the GST implication, if any, will have to come on the other institution which is collecting the sponsorship fees from me.
So in this case, there is no liability.
No liability, no reverse charge as well.
Like that.
Can you repeat? Actually, I couldn't catch it.
So there is a youth event. You mean the facts, madam?
No, the last part of this.
Yeah. So no liability on me and on forward charge, and no reverse charge as well.
Okay.
The next activity is the trust receives donation from public at large and have consistency in funds, and the trust runs a scheme wherein annual fixed amount of 11,000 is paid by active members every year. Now they collect this as donation. Now donation, when we say that, yes, it cannot be a forceful activity and things like that, but that said, the trust has to run the activities every year. So they said that you'll become a life member kind of a thing, wherein every year you have to pay a fixed amount of donation. So this is voluntary also, and kind of compulsion also, that every year you have to pay it. Will a compulsory donation to be made every year change the nature from a donation to a non-donation?
That's the very nature of donation, no? That it is not obligatory.
It is not obligatory, but I'm not. So if he doesn't pay, then I will not do anything to him. It's just that for my consistent performance, that my funds should not get impacted, I am said every year you have to pay me 11,000.
Now, if everybody does not pay, what you will do for your expenditure? If it is not obligatory and nobody pays, what you will do?
We'll still ask from him.
Huh?
We'll still ask from him because it has to run.
Ultimately, if police will not stop you, you will not stop in signal now. The enforceability gives the severity to the rule. Otherwise, it is only recommendation. It is recommended to give donation. If you don't give donation, trust will close. Everybody is giving even without asking does not mean it is not enforceable. You have to look at withdrawal failure test. If you withdraw from paying, whether there will be failure of relations. What will happen, you have to see.
So Deepak, so in this case, since you are saying that they are promoting a scheme, lifetime you pay 1 crore or 1 lakh or 10 lakhs, yearly you pay so much, then that though you are issuing the receipt by name donation,
would that take out that characteristic of donation by making it kind of an obligation? You are in a yearly scheme.
Yeah, it is in the nature of obligation itself. Then.
So let's see, if it is bilateral, then it is obligation. It has to be unilateral, optional, without any consequence. Then only it is properly voluntary. No? Otherwise, it becomes involuntary. Although involuntary does not have to be against wishes. Involuntary has to be, can be with consent.
Right.
And somewhere they would also make a list, paid donors or some membership, something they would do to retain that seniority or something which will make it kind of a scheme.
It's mostly a scheme only that every year, yeah, there's mostly you'll be debarred from membership.
Yeah, so ಅಷ್ಟೇ ICF is ತರ.
ಹೌದು. So out of fear, people will stay, and yeah, if they don't pay, then they don't continue to get the benefits.
Yeah.
So this
It
is
could be nothing, no consequence. It could even be social boycott. What? You are not member of Jito. You see how nicely Annapurna madam has made it mandatory for everybody to become member. How can you not be a member? Member ಆಗಿಲ್ಲಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಂಗೆ ಗುಲಾಬ್ ಜಾಮೂನೆ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಮದುವೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. Hello, madam. How you put social pressure on everybody? All chota boys have become member. Why? Because respect of society will come only if you have that sticker. Otherwise, it is voluntary only. It is highly voluntary.
yes, social bias.
Correct, madam?
ಹೌದು ಸರ್.
Full pressure ಆಗ್ತದೆ madam.
Sir, even in our Maheshwari community also we have the similar things, sir. Where we
Madam,
collect
ನೀವೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ. Excellent.
Yeah.
So there are various ways to procure somebody's cooperation. It need not be by force only. It could be what word Venu put in the group now. Something he put in the group. Moral person. Yeah. Basically emotional atyachar. Hello, Venu?
Yes.
So from that point of view, you will get enforceability there, and the voluntary nature of it will vanish.
The organizations now treat it as donation, but it could be exposed to being taxed.
ಮತ್ತೆ
The next activity is, as a part of its school donation drive, the trust has received donation in kind from certain organization, that is for distribution of bags and pencil boxes. So they've not received funds, they've received these items from another trust. The trust included its contribution for the school uniforms, and the total package was donated to government schools. Okay, so it had to donate the school uniforms, and along with it, it got another trust that's saying that you donate along with your school uniform, from my side, bags and pencil box. Now, for collaborating this activity of joint donation, the trust has not collected any charges from the other organizations. But it is helping the other trust in lot of ways, that they don't have to identify the schools, they don't have to go and distribute it. While you're giving this, you include my donations also, my contribution also. This I'm really doubtful, sir. Will this be treated as a separate activity, or you're providing kind of service to the other organization, even if it is not collecting any charges, or we can have two instances, one where it is collecting some charges and one instance where it is not collecting any charge. In both the instances, will it be taxable?
Answer ಹೇಳಪ್ಪ.
Donation, no, Deepak?
Correct.
But is it bill to ship to?
Deepak, if you are speaking, we are unable to hear you.
No, I'm just thinking, sir, how will this activity be? If you're telling it is a donation, then not taxable, no?
Not taxable.
And if it is not a donation, if you raise, you're not saying donation, saying that for conducting this service of donating it, I'm not saying that for this convenience.
Deepak, your voice is coming and going, Deepak.
For this convenience per se, if you're charging something.
Then would it be not sale of bags and pencils?
No, bags and pencils, the other trust is providing.
Correct, which you are combining
charging.
it, giving it for money.
Correct.
It would still be a supply of
You
goods.
become intermediary, no? You become intermediary. You are not charitable activity. You are collecting money to go and give the bags and come. Maybe you are GTA, maybe you are intermediary. So many things you can be.
Yeah, I'll become an intermediary, but intermediary for charitable activities.
Correct. Intermediary is intermediary, liable to GST for whatever activity.
Even for charitable activities, I'll be an intermediary.
No, it's basically you are what? You're like a wedding planner. The wedding planner does not want to know whether arranged marriage or love marriage now. ಕಾಸು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಊಟ ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ, ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ವೆದರ್ ಯು ಗಿವ್ ಬುಕ್, ಬ್ಯಾಗ್, ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್, ಶೂಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ಗಿವ್, ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಕೇರ್ ನೋ.
I am not an intermediary completely. My activity is becoming an intermediary, but I am a 12AA entity only.
While being a 12AA entity, ಈ ತರ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ? Chartered accountant doing settlement. What to do? Become intermediaries.
Deepak, on the contrary, if you think like this, these bags and pencils which they have received as donation would be given to the kids of the members who contributed 11,000 rupees every year.
So that is a different fact, that if I'm giving it to members, but when I'm actually giving
And
it.
no, members, again, not all members who paid that 11,000 rupees.
Okay.
Then what would you say?
Then definitely taxable.
Taxable, right? So now here you are extending, instead of members of that 11,000, you are saying that this schools I will give these bags and pencils, they have to pay me so much fees, some money. No correlation to the value, but some money.
Fundraising, charity kind of.
Applicable, alva?
So just extending this example through another way, if there is a donation which is saying that for this purpose you have to use, if they are mentioning the end purpose of use of the funds,
Hmm.
then you are trying to say that if there is an end purpose mentioned in the donation, it is
Hmm.
not a donation.
Correct.
And the donation with condition is consideration.
Donation with condition, not with the intention to give condition, with the condition that the objective is met.
Adema, donation with condition is consideration.
Okay.
Because if you don't follow the condition, what will happen? They will not give you next round of funding, or they will recover back this money. Something will be there now. That is consideration now.
So then the CSR fund.
So then it becomes involuntary.
How can there be? How can you accept a condition and then say it is involuntary?
No, payment, I mean, the giving of donation itself becomes involuntary, no, sir? No.
True. Then it's not donation. Involuntary donation.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that, no? Consideration.
So then this CSR funds, when a company gives, it ensures that year end it gets the fund report and whether the conditions have been fulfilled, whether it's been met. So in that case also.
See, it is not a condition. It is only a reporting requirement. Condition is with a adverse consequence. You have to report what you did with the money. Does not mean if you don't report, I'll not give you the money. See, sir, things like it should not be misused. Is different from saying that if you must give only books and bag to school children, you must do this, you must do that. You know where to draw the line there, no? Collecting report is different from saying, I will not give if you don't do this.
Fine, sir.
Deepak, again, goods is not covered in 12/2017, and transfer of property in goods aspect also needs to be evaluated here.
Okay. Fine.
So question paper ಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೆದು ಕಳಿಸ್ಬಿಡಿ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions in the chat, sir?
I think we've taken everything. Nothing in the chat. Yeah.
Fine. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Jadin sir, anything before we conclude?
Ashish.
Okay, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.